I tried my hardest not to make this a top 10 Fantastic Four cards, but here we are. Most of this list is cards from the Fantastic Four Precon. I tried not to, but what can I say? If you're going to buy one of the Precons and you want cards that are going to go into other decks in the future, I think, and get the most value out of them, I do believe the Fantastic Four is the best Precon to pick up. And cards from the Precons that are new to Magic. Number 10. Glorious Purpose, 1 and a blue enchantment plan. Whenever a creature you control connives, put a 1/1 counter on that creature and a plan counter on this enchantment. When the 6 plan counter is put on this enchantment, sacrifice it. If you do, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may cast any number of spells from among them without paying their mana cost. This one is one of the ones in the top 10 that is a little more restrictive because it only fits into like your connive decks. However, I think it's cool that all the plans function this way. So if you have like a stifle effect, Spider Sands, Consign, Stifle, you can stop it from popping pretty much. So whenever a creature you control connives, put a 1/1 counter on that creature and a plan counter on this enchantment. Well, if you stifle the effect when the 6th plan counter comes on, then you can always have the when a creature you control connives, put a 1/1 counter on it. So you're doubling up your counters. Now, sometimes you want to pop that and you want to do the top 4 and cast all the spells for free. I think it goes best in like a Rafine or a Kamez or a Toulouse deck because they're all like connive focused decks. So you're just doubling up on your connive triggers and getting extra 1/1 counters there. Like I said, this is one of the ones that was a little more restrictive, but I think it's very strong for these decks. Obviously, it goes in the Doctor Doom deck as well if you want to go into Grixis and not Esper. Number 9. This one is Galactus, Devourer of Worlds. 10 for a 12/12. Legendary creature, Elder Alien, flying, trample, indestructible. When Galactus enters, exile target permanent, insatiable hunger. Galactus attacks an opponent with the mana or with the most life among opponents you control each combat if able. But then if you have Silver Surfer out, he allows you to attack however you'd like. I feel like it goes best in a blue and white kind of shell, although it is colorless, so you can throw it in anywhere. Because when you have effects like Thassa, where at the beginning of your end step, you exile up to one other target creature you control and then return that card to the battlefield, or Conjurer's Closet lets you do it in any color because it's an artifact, or white does the same effect. And then you're going to double up on his when he enters exile target permanent. You do have access to cast him quicker when you're in like ramp, but that's why I feel like he's best in like a Kinnan or a Palani or a Mael deck because you can cheat him out. In Kinnan, you're going to be ramping him out even quicker. In Palani and Mael, like you're cheating him out in a way that look at the top 5 with Mael, you put him into the battlefield, and then Polani, you're doing the same thing, kind of, but with eggs, breaking the eggs and putting big things into combat or into the battlefield. Number 8. This one I originally dismissed when I was doing the Doctor Doom like pre-con review, and I still don't think it goes in that deck in particular, but it's Living Laser, 4 and a red, 4/4, legendary creature, elemental villain, haste. When Living Laser attacks, for each card you've discarded this turn, create a token that's a copy of Living Laser, except the token isn't legendary. The token enters tapped and attacking, and then you exile those tokens at the beginning of your next end step. So with that, we're gonna want a wheel. You got your windfalls, your wheel of fortunes. Even you got this new guy, the Nakatumin lure spinner, which has wheel of fortune on it. There's other wheels and discards, so you're in the discard shell because if you do a full 7, you're getting 7 of the lasers. He goes best probably with like a Braylon and a Shabraz, the Sky Shark, like Jeskai kind of deck. But then he's also got the Sundial of the Infinite, where you can just end the turn and keep all those lasers. So if you like wheel, discard 7, draw 7, Sundial, now you got 7 of those 4/4 living lasers, which also have that ability. because it's a token copy. So then if you wheel again, boom, you got like what, 7 times 7 there. Um, I put for like Nekizar is already trying to wheel the table, so fits there, and then Rael is just for your discard one or more cards. For your first time each turn, you draw that many cards, so you're already just going to be like a full hand and wheeling, and she gets 1-0 for each instant and sorcery in the graveyard. So, Nekizar, Rel, and then I thought Porphyros. Whether I You could do mono red like Porphyros, or just make sure Porphyros is in the same deck, which he would fit in either of these two as well, or the Sky Shark deck as well. As long as your devotion to red is less than 5, Perforos isn't a creature. But the text box we're focused on is whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Perforos deals 2 damage. So if you wheel, you're doing 14 damage to the table, plus you have the 7/4/4s going out and attacking. So, I mean, that seems pretty strong. Again, I dismissed this for staying in the Doom deck in particular, but I just believe he can go in the 99 of some of these decks and just shine. I'm sure there's a way you build around him completely and still have like Perforos in the deck and whatnot, but then you're losing access to blue for some of the better wheels too. Also, impact tremors and goblin bombardment. This is just a way that if you don't have the sundial out, you can just sacrifice them for the pings. And then if you got like Perforos and Impact Tremors out, and you're doing 3 damage per laser that comes out. They hit the battlefield due to attack, and then if they're get through or if they're not blocked profitably, etc., you just sack them to the Goblin Bombardment there. Number 7, Irby Lovable Robot for 2 legendary artifact creature Robot Scout 1/1 flying. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you cast a non-creature spell this turn, surveil 1. That's the main text box I'm excited about in Commander because one, it's colorless, it fits into anything. You're in Commander, the odds are of you casting a non-creature spell each turn is pretty high, and then you get to surveil. Surveil is where you look at the top card. If you don't like it, you can put it in your graveyard, or you can keep it on top. It is a mana rock as well, so it's going to tap for colorless, or you can filter and cast for any color. Not the flashiest, but I do believe it can fit in the most things here, as long as you're casting non-creature spells. You got your like Urza decks, your Emery decks, and your Teshar decks, where of course it slots in like the best because it's got artifacts, or your like historic, which is like he's historic because he's an artifact and legendary. Um, Not saying he's shoehorned into these decks because he's colorless, so he can fit into wherever you want, as long as you're casting non-creature spells. Number 6, Council of Reeds, 2 in a blue for 2/2 legendary creature human scientist hero. The legend rule doesn't apply to creatures you control. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you've cast a non-creature spell this turn, create a token that is a copy of Reed of Councils. So it ramps, it goes, on your first one, you get 1 copy, and now you have 2 of the exact same thing. And then on the next turn, it's 4, and then 8, and then 16. Um, this goes, there's the Council of Reed's token copy there. With like Blade of Selves, Helm of Hosts, Rite of Replication, this just goes nuts. You could be your general, straight up, because it's a legendary creature. But you throw a Helm of Host on there, or you write a replication, even if you don't kick it, like just one, just to kind of speed up that duplicating. Um, you're gonna have a whole board full of reads. Um, you got the Sakashima deck that's already trying to do cloning and the legend rule. Miriam's, I thought was a cool include because it's whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token copy that's of it, except for it isn't legendary. So you're already kind of doing like copy things, but in like the dragon. But you can just throw him in here and just have another way to just token off pretty much. Uh, and then Adrix and Nev, twin casters. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of these are created instead. Like I said, you could make Council of Reeds your general, and I think that would be really fun. But I like access to like green at least in this kind of effect. Sakashima's been doing it for a while. So number 5. A Black Bolt and Human King. 2 white and a blue, 3/3 legendary creature, Inhuman Noble Hero. Flying, whenever you cast a non creature spell, Black Bolt gets 2/2 into the end of turn. Whenever Black Bolt becomes the target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, destroy target non land permanent that player controls. I can't put a finger on another blue white card that behaves this way, so it was very unique. It's Black Bolt, so I like he doesn't use his voice unless he has to because it's so lethal. So the fact that when he becomes targeted, you just get to destroy a non-land permanent that player controls, and you get to choose that as well. So as a commander, he's already a 3/3 flying that becomes like a 5/5 just for one spell. So you can close out damage pretty easily that way. Uh, like slip out the back, aqueous form, security bypass, just giving him a way to be unblockable pretty much, and then benefits from it like scry. Um, and then when he this like security bypass when he deals combat damage, draw a card. We're just trying to put things on him that benefits him while he's attacking, and they're not going to want to target him either. Um, and also, whenever Black Bolt becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, so if they're trying to respond to you casting any of these on there, you're just going to get to pop one of their permanents, anyways. Um, since he isn't blue and white, you get access to like staggering insight or flaming fist. Flaming fist was a cool one. Commander creatures you control have whenever this creature attacks, it gains double strike. You're already one spell, you're making him a 5/5, so now he's hitting for 10, which is kind of crazy in blue and white. It's not typically an aggro color pair. Whirlwind of Thought, if you put him in a Jeskai deck and you're not making him the general, and then you got whenever you cast a non creature spell, you're drawing a card, and you're making him a 2/2, 2/2, 2/2. So goes well in Jeskai decks. I got Narset Enlightened Exile, I think goes well in, or any of the Alesha the Infinite decks. Also, Elise Hext could go in her deck or she goes in his deck. Either way, prowess creature spells you cast cost 1 less, and as long as you cast 2 or more this turn, Elise has double strike. So white and blue aggro, or like Azorius aggro. I like that. I think this is going to be one of the ones that I build from this precon myself. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching this far into the video. Just don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content. And you guys, I started at like 500 after that channel hack and got some people back from that. Now we're already up to 1100 out of the 15 that we were there. I should be monetized soon. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate you guys. Let's get back into this number 4, Cosmic Crucible, 4 and a green blue for an enchantment. At the beginning of your first main phase, add 4 mana of any color combination. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may copy it and choose new targets for that copy. That's a lot of stuff going on with that card. I got you any of your time warps, extra turn spells, you're getting to copy them, and not only that, but you're playing that on 6. You're immediately getting 4 mana back on the next turn, and then you cast like a time warp or temporal manipulation, and then you get 2 of those. I'm sure you're gonna find some more lands, and then you can chain off and do a Nexus of Fate, and then you get 2 of those, and wow. And then you got any of your like giant X spells, your finales, your Genesis Wave, your Villainous Wealth, that this can go in those color pairs, and you're gonna get to cast it, and then you're gonna get to double it up. So, and it helps you ramp. So immediately, if you know you're gonna cast like a Villainous Wealth, you got 4 of your X right there the turn after you cast it. Um, Probably fits best in Calamax because he's already doing like the copy instant or spells or instant or sorcery spells there. Cannon obviously because he's or they're ramping. So you're gonna have a ton of mana to get this out early and then take advantage of any of those double turns or expels. Um, haven't gone against a Riku of 2 Reflections deck in a very long time. Used to be a very strong commander in the pods that I was in, but really fits well there because you're gonna when you cast an instant sorcery spell, you're already gonna add the mana back that you spent for like your extra turns, or whenever a non-token creature enters your control, you're gonna get blue, red and the blue, and if you do create a token copy of that creature, so like you could throw the Council of Reeds kind of in that deck, and have like the token theme, and then you can also have the blue and the red, and have like the copy instants and sorceries. You could put Calamax in there. Just feel like I haven't seen Riku in a while, so I wanted to throw him up there. Number 3, Valeria Richards, Precocious, 3 and a blue, 3/3, legendary creature, human, scientist hero. Non-creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast your first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card. She's like just a glue piece. I'm sure you can make her a general within her own, but a glue piece that can help in any of the spell slinger decks, or just, any of the blue red X spell slingers. I put Vidalcan Oregon Leyline in of Anticipation just because it says your first non creature each turn. So if you have Flash or any way to cast on your um, other person's turn, you got instant sorceries. But if you want to cast like artifacts or enchantments on their turn, you're going to be able to draw a card with it. Viren, Voice of Duality, Alicia, and Kaikar, I believe all want her because you're casting your non-creature spells and you're getting to draw a card or make 1/1 spirits or prowess, the top card of your life, everything that they're wanting to do. Any Magecraft style deck, I think, is pretty sweet for her as well. Number 2, Crystal, Inhuman Princess, 1 green, red, 2/3, flying, legendary creature, Inhuman Noble Hero. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Crystal deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of colors that spell is. This is definitely the first one. I want to build Black Bolt, but I definitely want to build Crystal as well. I'm gonna keep the Precon intact, but I think I'm gonna pick up an extra copy of Crystal and Black Bolt. Um, she's a 4-color commander because she's able to tap for red, green, white, and blue, even though her base casting is just green and red. But whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it deals X damage to each opponent, where X is the number of colors was spent. So if you can double up on this, like with like mana cannons, Fire Emancipation, which I believe is reprinted here in the Marvel set, and then City of Fire. Granted, they cost a lot, but this one has a Convoke. She can tap for mana, so she's ramping into it. But for example, mana cannons, whenever you cast a multicolored spell, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of colors it was. That's what she's doing. So you're doubling up on it. Or you got Fire Emancipation. If a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or a player, it triples that damage. Crazy. And then you got, like, for example, if you cast a Whirlwind Thought with her, just her, you're dealing 3 damage to them. Yeah, about a mana cannons, you're doing 6. Fire Emancipation, boom, 9. Stormkiln Artist I put in here just because, like, Magecraft with her seems good as well. Gets 1 over each artifact you control, but basically you're just casting your spells and getting treasures off of them. And then Jessica Ascendancy, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creatures you control get 1/1 and you untap those. She can tap for mana, tap for a mana, cast non-creature, untap, +1/+1, etc. And then you're drawing a card, and then if you do discard, so you're filtering through, you're trying to find something large like a Whirlwind of Thought or um, an Omnath or something like that, to cast. She is it's non-creature, sorry. So, but goes best in like herself or like an Omnath or Aragon or a Ramos. Ramos is cool because whenever you cast a spell, put a 1/1 counter on Ramos for each of that spell's colors. So you're gonna hopefully be casting at least a tri or a quad colored card. Get 4 counters, deal 4 damage if you're in Ramos. I like Aragon because whenever you cast a white, you get the soldier. Whenever you cast a blue, you scry. Whenever you cast a red, deals 3 damage. And then whenever you cast a green, target creature gets 4/4. So if you have her out with like Aragon and you cast a Jeskai spell, you're getting a token, scrying, dealing 3 from Aragon and 3 from Crystal. So that's pretty sweet. The honorable mentions, which most of them could have been, 10 in the 9 slot there. Doom's Time Platform. Power Pack, King Solomon's Frogs, and the Frightful Four. Doom, I think I'm not sure where it goes yet, but I like that whenever you attack, exile and target non-land card from your graveyard, it gets 2 time counters. So it gets suspend. So you can rebuy some of your powerful creatures or like creatures, instant sorceries. Not sure where it goes. It is an artifact, so it can go in anything. Just don't know where to put it, but I feel like it was strong enough to put in the honorable mentions. Power Pack most likely builds around itself. I'm not sure where it would fit right now, but that's one in a red, green, white, blue 4/4 legendary creature human hero, flying, vigilance, trample, haste. Whenever Power Pack deals combat damage to a player, exile target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard chosen at random. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. And then if it would be put into the graveyard, exile instead. So I'm sure there's something there. I couldn't figure it out, but I think it's strong enough to be in the honorable mentions. King Solomon's Frog is 3 and a white for flash. Whenever it enters, if you cast it for each opponent, exile up to 1 target permanent that player controls with mana value 3 or greater. For each permanent exiled this way, its controller draws a card. Typically like banishing lights and banishing priests and stuff like that. It's like 3 or less. Uh, the fact that or 4 or greater on some things, but I like that this was 3 or greater. Kind of gives you like a, and it's for each opponent too. So it's kind of like a targeted removal, but you're giving them a card. So it's like a Bumbleflower deck maybe, or like a Hippogriff, but it is pretty cool. You can also exile it and become the Monarch as well. And the Frightful Four, this can go in a few decks, but off the top of my head, not not too sure. 3 and a black, 4/4. But when it menace, whenever an opponent casts their first non-creature spell, each turn that player loses life equal to that spell's mana value. I mean, this can go in like your generic black commander decks, anything with black. I think I actually kept this in the Doom deck, I believe. If not, I am considering keeping it in there because this is just punishing player people for playing big spells. I mean, even if you were going back to like the casting those time warps, okay, they cast a time warp, they take 5, they go to their um next turn because they took an extra turn and they try to cast another one, they're taking 5. So they're not going to be able to continue their chain, you know what I mean? Not strong enough to make the top 10, but definitely honorable mentions. And our final and number one card for this list was Molecule Man. 6 for a 5/5 legendary creature, human villain. Non land cards in your hand have Miracle. You may cast that card for its miracle cost when you draw it if it's the first card you drew this turn. Yeah, I think we know why this is strong, right? So you're gonna, and it's colorless. So you got your Sensei's Divining Top, your Scroll Rack, and your Sylvan Library to be able to manipulate the top of your library. That way you know what you have on top, or you can put a card back on top with these cards to be able to cast it for free. Um, all of your tutors, so I've got this in like a little tutor package. They search your library for a card and then shuffle and put that card on top. Now it costs 0 because Molecule Man. Again, he's colorless. So these cards, you pair him in another commander that's any of these colors, and you put that in and can cast. I like cards like Wan Shi Tong, Fairy Mastermind, and Archivist of Ogum with Molecule Man because, for example, Wan Shi Tong, X blue blue, legendary creature, bird, spirit, 1/1, flash, flying, vigilance. When it enters, it gets 1/1, counters on them, and draw half of X cards. So when you draw the card on your opponent's turn, the miracle still triggers. So you're able to cast that card for free because it's on your opponent's turn and you're drawing the card. And then whenever they search their library, put a 1/1 counter on it and draw a card. So let's say player across from you goes, you flash in Washington when they fetch. Um, the X comes in, you draw a card, and then you cast that first card off of Miracle, and then goes to the next player's turn. They play a fetch land, they fetch. You're getting a 1/1 counter, one Shitong. They draw a card, and then you get to cast another card because it's another turn. A Fairy Mastermind works in a similar way, but it's when they draw their second card each turn, you draw a card. And then Archivist also works like the second half of Wang Shi Tong. When they search your library, you gain a life and draw a card. So you're being able to trigger that miracle multiple times around the board. Then there's like Planetarium of Wang Shi Tong, which I thought was cool. Not so much that you are able to like scry and surveil and kind of manipulate the top of your deck. Not as much so as like your top and Sylvan Library and Scroll Rack because it costs 6 mana. But um, whenever you scry or surveil, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. So you're kind of getting to do the Molecule Man thing on this card um, because uh, yeah, you're just able to do it straight off without needing Molecule Man, but I still think they go in the same deck. We made it through the whole top 10. And I'd like to thank you guys for making it to the end of this video. Just a reminder, like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Top 10s, was a little nervous about because it's very opinionated. It's my top 10, and not everybody's going to agree. So if that's you, put down in the comments below what you disagree with and what you would add to the top 10 and what you're most excited to play with. I'll be on twitch.tv when Spider-Man drops or when Marvel drops this week, uh, coming up. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.